It's Backstage Pass with Steve Ryan. And here's your host, Steve Ryan.
Good morning.
It's evening for me, and it's tomorrow morning for you. So,
well, hello from the future.
yeah.
The planet is here only just, but we survive another day.
You know, I was talking to Keith from the Seekers a couple of weeks ago from Australia, and
Oh, wow.
we had a similar conversation.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. One. He's still in the future as well, and he's a legend. The Seekers.
Yeah.
Wow.
He is
Amazing.
he is a legend. I really enjoyed speaking with him.
I remember seeing him in a cafe. I was on a big 80s tour a few years ago, and there was Martika, Berlin, and Lamal and people. And I said to Lamal, see that grey-haired guy over there, Lamal? We're in a roadside cafe. And I said, he's Seekers, and Lamal nearly wet his pants. You know, it was like, he's a legend. No matter, who you are, whether you're heavy metal or something, he's a legend.
Yeah. You have to appreciate him. It was a wonderful conversation. I wasn't exactly sure where it was going to go, but we had a great talk. And that's kind of what I was thinking with you, David. I don't really, I mean, I've got some notes in front of me, but I just like to have a conversation.
Sure, that's the best way things go, Steve, is when you have two people talking about their love of music, whether it's my music or anyone else's music. That's the best sort of conversation you can have. It doesn't seem like an interview then. It's more like a conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited that you're here and we're speaking today. So thank you for taking some time for me. I want to talk about what you're doing currently, but I also want to go back and talk about the history a little bit of the band of Real Life.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're doing this summer. Are you guys out doing anything?
Well, it's not summer here. It's the middle of winter, and we have a rare sunny day in Melbourne, Australia. There's a famous song by Crowded House called Four Seasons in One Day.
Yeah.
And it's about Melbourne. And but yeah, the sun's shining this morning and it's beautiful. And I've been to the market and I've had 2 double espresso coffees and I'm having a combi of tea. So I'm good. Yeah. No, there's nothing coming up for me during the winter here for sure. And I'm not going to the States. It's things are booked like about a year in advance these days.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like someone's going to ring up and say, hey, can you come out, next month or the month after? It wouldn't be till next year anyway. So that's just the way the business is these days.
Yeah.
So, I'm not doing anything much. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that there's some, 80s tours that are going on and I was talking to Trevor Steele from the Escape Club, and he was going to be doing a cruise with a bunch of big bands from the 80s and
including me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
It was great fun. It was the end of February, and you see there was Debbie Gibson, Sheena Easton, guy from Rat, Skate Club, Wang Chung, and a whole lot of people. So and little old me, and that was in the Caribbean. So it's for Trevor's a good mate of mine, Trevor Steele, and sadly I just mentioned we lost Johnny, the bass player, just a few days ago. Very sad.
Right.
But an Englishman and an Australian in the middle of the Caribbean with a bunch of Yanks, it's a lot of fun. It's pretty funny. And when you weren't fighting off pirates during the day, you're playing gigs at night.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting in that the boat moves quite a bit. And, I play guitar as well as sing. And every time I kind of was about to put my foot up to hit my fuzz box or stomp box or something, you go, whoa, and the ship's moving. But it was great. It doesn't matter kind of what sort of music you play. The Australian band Air Supply were on that trip. So, get a bunch of musos, especially older musos who have a lot of stories to tell. And you just have a great time sitting down and chatting, as well as playing some great shows. All the bands were in fine form. So it was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to catch one of those. I was talking to Martha Davis from the Motels about, I think, 2 weeks ago, and she's out with Wang Chung right now, and they're just having a great time going around the States. And
of course, yeah. I went out on the Lost 80s Live in 2019, just before COVID,
right,
with Wang Chung and the Seagulls and Martha. And Martha's just amazing. She's just such a great songwriter and a great singer. And a long, long time ago in Melbourne, Australia, I was driving taxis and wasn't in a band. And I went to see this band called The Motels at a concert in Melbourne. It was first sort of new wave concert I'd seen. And and Martha was just, the band were fantastic. It was just like, oh, wow, what is this kind of music? I want to be something like this. And I thought, oh, I want to be like, that woman in that band. And ended up on the 2019 Lost 80s tour. And I'm sitting in the van on the first day, and Martha's kind of going, oh, who are you? And I said, oh, I'm David. I'm in a band Real Life, and I'm Australian. And I said to her, do you remember the first concert you ever played in Melbourne, Australia? She said, yes. I said, well, I was there, and that's one of the reasons I'm sitting in the back of this band today, because of your influence.
Wow. Especially their first two albums are very, very new wave 80s sounding.
They are, yeah.
Tell me, David, when I had read, tell me if this is correct. I had read that the band kind of got started because you had responded to an ad in the newspaper that Richard had placed.
Yeah, that's right. Correct. Yeah, it was just a sort of a daily newspaper that had a little, couple of columns of music ads in it. And a friend of mine who was actually a guitar student of mine knocked on my door very early one Saturday morning, which annoyed me, and said, hey, David, there's this ad in the paper today. You have to reply to this. You have to. And I go, oh, yeah, sure. And I thought, no, I'm not. And but then I did later that afternoon, and I had a brief conversation with Richard. It was about practically nothing. And he was going out that afternoon. He wrote a note for his housemate saying, I've found the right guitar player. So, but it was basically a keyboard player or a synth player, more like a synth player looking for a guitar player. And I thought, yeah, that's the new wave sound to me. It's a mixture of these brand new synthesizer things that sound fantastic and some guitar as well. So that's where it started. Yeah, we were just going to write songs. We weren't really going to be a band. We just kind of wanted to write songs. And but then Richard said, oh, come on, let's form a band. I went, yeah, okay. Yeah. And then I wasn't going to be the singer. We were looking for singers and auditioning people, but I was writing all the words and singing at rehearsals, and they eventually sort of said, look, you're not very good as a singer, but you'll do.
Yeah. Well, that gives you a lot of confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's stuck with me forever. I agree with it. I agree with it totally. I'm not a great singer, but I do what I do as best as anyone can do it.
So. It worked out okay for you.
Yeah.
And you had talked about the synthesizer and guitar mix of the band, and I actually was thinking about that earlier this morning when I anticipating our conversation, and I was thinking about Real Life, and you're kind of in that zone that I like, kind of like that New Order zone in a great way, that there's this great balance between the synthesizers but the guitar too, where a lot of bands in the 80s, were kind of one or the other. But you guys in New Order, there's in Depeche Mode later, but
yeah. I was also Ultravox, I think, because Midge, you were a fantastic guitar player, and they had the great combination of synths, and Gary Newman, of course. Also, I mean, that's the interesting thing when we get to kind of talking about like Send Me an Angel. Reasons, because that was a whole new sort of music in America at the time. Then the synthesizer in America is very guitar, because that's where Gibsons and Fenders come from. Right. And I've heard from some people, some people in the record business and in radio said the only thing that made Send Me an Angel get airplay was the fact that there's a guitar solo in the middle of it. That's what said, okay, we're not playing all this synth music, but hey, there's a guitar solo in the middle of that one, so we'll give that a go. And that's the only piece of guitar on that song is the solo. There's no other guitar in it. So,
that came from Heartland. The album came out in 1983. And just a fun fact, when that song came out, I was a club DJ. And so, we were playing the heck out of it. It was a big dance club hit too. I mean, it was a hit. I mean, I think it hit 29 on the Hot 100 Billboard here in the States.
Yeah.
But then when it was re-released in 86, I was a DJ on the radio. So I participated in both versions, to a sense.
How strange is that? I mean, that's there's not many songs that get to go around twice,
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And even songs that do get a chance to go around twice, it's not very often that the second time around does a little bit better than the first time around.
Yeah.
And that's what Send Me an Angel did.
Yeah, and being by the same band, it's not like a Bananarama covering it or something.
Right.
It's it was a remix by an English guy called Nigel Wright, who was in a band called Shack Attack. And it came about because I'd heard a very strange Quincy Jones did a remix of Blue Monday, which is probably my all-time favorite song. And I thought, well, what's this strange? Quincy Jones and New Order? It's like, oh, okay. And it did really well. And I sort of wondered out loud in the record company's office, wonder what would happen with a remix of Send Me an Angel. And they saw dollar signs, lit up their eyes, and ooh, let them go. And that's how that happened anyway.
Send me an angel. Send me an angel. Right now. Right now. Send me an angel. Send me an angel. Right now. Right now.
Wow. That's a great story. I mean, you're taking me back because I when the remix of New Order came out, I was DJ on the radio, so I was playing that one too. But I knew that from the club days, back when it originally came out.
Yeah. That's, to me, I remember when I first heard that back in the day, just sort of before or just as Real Life was starting, I was a cab driver, and there was a couple of songs that I would just, no matter what, I would just pull over the side of the road and stop and listen. Luckily, I never had many passengers, but Blue Monday was one of them, and a Giorgio Moroder song as well. Might have been Love to Love You Baby. The sound of the synthesizers on those things and the bass drum on Blue Monday and the lyric and the bass guitar playing lead guitar. It's like, wow, what is this?
Yeah, but unlike you guys, go ahead.
No, I grew up on heavy metal. I mean, I love Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and Black Sabbath, but I could never play that guitar that well. So the synth thing with the guitars and the bands like New Order and the punk thing made it easier for not virtuoso people like me to have some sort of career in music. So yeah, that was part of it as well.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say the difference between new Blue Monday being released twice and Send Me an Angel being released twice. The Send Me an Angel was a hit both times. Blue Monday was not.
Oh, wasn't it?
No.
Strange combination. I mean, that first Blue Monday was just an audio revelation. What is this? The bass drum is playing like the lead part of the song, and it's just strange arrangement. It doesn't really have a chorus or anything. And I think it might have been the association with Quincy Jones being a master of R&B and Michael Jackson and all other people. People were perhaps going, I'm not so sure about this is a happy marriage here. But I thought it was, pretty good. Not as good as the original, but I liked it.
I'm with you on that too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about another song off of Heartland, Catch Me I'm Falling, which was a big hit as well, and an even bigger club hit because I played the heck out of that vinyl.
Yeah.
My dreams become so real to me. What a night is young. Catch me, I'm falling down again. I know it's a dream, but just the same.
Well, that was interesting because the very original version of that didn't have that intro with the vocoders. The original Real album version was just pretty boring. And then Steve Hillage came out to produce the album. And when the band went away on tour, which is probably the best thing for Real Life, is not have the band around when things are being mixed, because we sort of put out, no, I want the guitar louder, just,
Right.
Anyway, Steve Hillage put the vocoder intro on it, and all of a sudden it went to #1 in Melbourne, where I live, So it was a song that just was only the remix that saved it. One of those things, without the remix, it was just a fairly bland song, and then bang, you got this vocoder and that bass drum at the start of it.
Wake up, don't sleep. Wake up, don't sleep.
So I've always loved vocoders. I like sounding like a Dalek, from Doctor Who. And so I've had vocoders on just about everything ever since. So,
yeah. I had the 12-inch vinyl version that I was playing in the clubs, and we just played that over and over and over. It just,
wow.
and it mixed so well with other songs. It's just that perfect song. And both have sent me,
yeah. It's 170 beats per minute. That I know. There's with DJs. It's like, okay, house Angel was 128, which is the original house kind of thing.
Yeah.
But next is 170. And whenever we're playing, whoever's playing drums, I look around and have a big smile on my face, going, "You poor bastard! You've got this play at 170 beats per minute. You better be fit."
Yeah, well, and the sweet spot for DJs is 120, 124. That's everybody wants to be in that area. So that's what I loved about it, is it was a great dance tune with a higher beat per minute, and it worked.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how you start having to cater to that a little bit. Like there's a song "God Tonight" from the Lifetime album that did very well for us in the clubs.
I'm not perfect, and I'm not blind, but wouldn't it be good if I was God tonight?
That there was a New Order song that was 120, and God Tonight's 120 as well, I think. And I was like, "Oh, you're getting played because the New Order song." I'm going, "No, God Tonight's a really good song as well. Hang on."
Yeah.
And they go, "Yeah, but it's fitting." The DJs are saying we like that because we can play those together.
Yeah. Well, and that fared pretty well on the modern rock chart and dance charts here in the States, and that was 1990-ish. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Another good song off the Lifetime album is "Kiss the Ground."
Yeah. It's probably my favorite. Have you seen the video for that one?
I don't think I have.
You can find it on YouTube.
Something that I really love about Real Life and the songs that you've continued to do and throughout your whole catalog is you guys never really veered very far off path like a lot of bands do. I mean, the stuff you're putting out now and recently, it's you can say, oh, well, that's the same band that did, Catch Me I'm Falling, and you guys kind of stuck to your sound, and that's really kind of rare, and I like that.
I can't help but sort of make fun of myself, Steve, but maybe it's because that's about as good as we can get. We could never develop any further musically or anything, you know. I don't know, but
I,
you know, I mean,
I,
I love prog music, but there's no way I could play anything like Yes or create those chord progressions or anything complicated stuff. I'm still, you know, 3 chords, and that's about it. So I'll never get further than that.
I, I don't think you give yourself enough credit.
I don't deserve that much credit.
Yeah. Well, you've sold some albums, so you deserve that much.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So then in '85, the Flame album came out, and one of my favorite songs of yours is Let's Fall in Love. And
Oh,
and then Face to Face is on that, but Let's Fall in Love was a pretty good dance hit as well.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. It's that the version I guess you're talking about is like a remix. Actually, it's not the one that was really on the album. There was a dance version. I thought it was fantastic.
Let's fall in love. Let's fall in love. I will be yours, you will be mine. Let's fall in.
It should have been a hit single for sure, that one. And Face to Face, yeah, it was. I mean, I love playing. I play it all the time. It was in a vampire movie. What was it? Once Bitten, I think.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, that's about it. But yeah, there were some good songs on Flame, but it took a long time to make that after Heartland. We were, you know, Heartland came out in 1983, and then 1984, Send Me an Angel became a hit in Europe. It went to #1 in Germany for a month. And so we were constantly on chasing Send Me an Angel and not having a chance to write new stuff. And then we took a long time to write Flame, and we recorded it all over the place. Started in Melbourne, ended up mostly in Berlin in Hansa Studio. And it sounds like it was made from bits and pieces everywhere. So it wasn't, you know, the greatest of records, but there's some great stuff on it.
Was making that album a good experience for the band or not so
No,
much?
no, it was
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
I guess there was tension between like Richard and myself. I mean, we never really argued or fought, but it was like, you know, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know,
Right.
let's go. And things were coming really slowly. And we had a lovely guy trying to produce it, a guy called Peter Henderson, who produced a lot of Supertramp stuff. And we were just, honestly, we were just lost. We'd had this huge hit with Send Me an Angel. And, you know, it's not the most easy song to follow up, you know, when you start off with one of the best things you'll ever write accidentally.
Right. Right.
And you've got to follow it up. So we were just kind of lost, and it was costing a hell of a lot of money. We were in great studios, and sometimes we were doing nothing in those great studios. We were in Hansa Street, we were flying gliders off the building at the Berlin Wall, and we made a train set around the desk. We were busy playing with stuff and not writing and recording. So yeah, it was very difficult. There was a lot of pressure from our many record companies, the Australian one, the German one, the American one, going, you know, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, where's the hit song? Where's Send Me an Angel Mark II? So it was an incredibly rough time. So,
You're receptive to trying to follow that up in all the pressure of that, or were you just like, I just want to create? Where were you at? Was it?
No, you were under pressure. There were people making a lot of money out of you, and they let you know that, hey, you know, you need this really quickly, and you need it to be as good as you know, so there's something magic about a song like Send Me an Angel.
Right.
There really is. And to get that, you know, even once in your life is pretty amazing. But when they wanted you to do it every time, the Beatles could have done it, but me and Richard, no.
Yeah. And then he left the group in '86.
Yeah, he was like pretty, I guess, devastated by the whole thing. Also, uh, singers get more attention than they want sometimes, and he was a little bit resentful that I'd end up on whether I liked it or not, would be on a cover of a magazine, and he wouldn't. And I had no say in that either, and I didn't like that sort of attention either. So yeah, that he decided he was going to form his own band, and he sort of got a new publishing deal, and he went to live in Germany for a while, I believe. And I think his band was called Discipline, and but nothing really ever came from it. So yeah, sadly for Richard. Anyway.
And he wasn't involved in Down Comes the Hammer album, right?
No, that we had a new keyboard player, Steve Williams,
Yeah.
at the time, who's lovely guy, still a friend of mine, and it was a fresh writing experience. You know, Richard was basically a classical musician. I mean, he's an incredibly fine violin player, and his knowledge of music and music theory was like just amazing. You know, like I say, I know 3 chords, but Richard knew everything about music. And then, but he wasn't that into creating the fabulous synthesizer sounds. You know, he was more like playing string parts on the synth. Whereas Steve Williams came along and he was very much into the new order bass lines and the Moog bass lines and sculpturing the sound and synthesizers a whole lot more. So yeah, and he's the guy that was on the Kiss the Ground record and God Tonight. So and Down Comes the Hammer was kind of the first thing that Steve and I wrote together. And it was for a compilation record, a Curve compilation. There's a lot of people think that Send Me an Angel's the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah.
I think that really annoys the Pet Shop Boys. Fabulous, you know?
Yeah. Well, on that album though, there was a new mix of Flame, which to me I kind of like a little bit better than the original. Is that why you guys put it on there?
Yeah, because the original Flame vocal was horrible. Because it was a new song and I wasn't used to singing it. And I was over in Los Angeles recording somewhere with a guy called David Holman, who's a great producer and a lovely man. He has a beautiful studio. And we were doing some remix things. And I said, David, could I please have a go? Just give me one more chance to sing Flame. He didn't record Flame, but can I have a go at the Flame vocal? And he said, sure. And, you know, I was about to go to the airport to go home as well. And please, you know, I want one go. He said, yeah, go. And I did it in one take. Wow. So, and it was like, wow, if only I could have done that on the first time around, because I love Flame as well. It's usually the opener of the set. I love that song very much. I think it's one of Richard's finest pieces is the orchestration. That's where you see that his knowledge of strings. There's this beautiful cellos and we had the 909 drum machine, which didn't sound like the big boom crash Lynn gated drums anymore. I was like, I don't know about this, but I love it.
Yeah.
And when the passion feels like pain, tears upon you like the rain, I feel that my heart is breaking now. My resistance thrown away like a magnet. I will stay. I am caught in the flame.
The new version of it is the one that I have rotating in my playlist.
Ah, good.
Yeah. So in 2009, you did that Send Me an Angel 80s synth essentials LP.
Yeah.
And what was the motivation behind that? Because I didn't know. I recently found that. Go ahead, money.
Yeah. I was never. Didn't have like much of a home setup. I didn't have Cubase or Ableton or Logic or anything like those things, but I wanted to kind of get into that. And I got this email from Cleopatra Records going, "Hey, David, we'll give you this amount of money to make a record compilation where you re-record Send Me an Angel and your favorite other 80s songs, and we'll pay you this amount of money." And my brain's going, "You idiot, you can't do this. You know, you don't know how to mix or engineer or record anything." But my empty pockets were saying, go on, have a go on. So I said yes, and then I go, oh, what have I done? I can't do this. And there was a program called Logic that comes out on a Macintosh that's a recording, sort of like it's a tape recorder basically. And there was online tutorial. So I was learning one thing, then starting to record it, you know, step by step along the way, making that record. So
wow.
So I mean, I did the Sirens album practically all on my own, but the reason I got there was recording that compilation album, and I managed to get through it. And you know, I sort of mixed it all myself, and then I had it mastered. And they said, "Yeah, okay, that's fine." I went, "Oh, thank God." And the really good thing was the American dollar is always worth 50% more than the Australian dollar. So it also bought me a brand new computer, some great monitor speakers and a microphone. And I got paid for it too. They pay me and I get money from it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you talked about the songs that are on there, and you mentioned Gary Newman earlier, but on there you did a version of Cars, and you did Sweet Dreams, and Everything Counts by Depeche Mode, and you did New Order's Blue Monday, which is my favorite song on that compilation.
How does it feel to treat me like you do? When you laid your hands upon me and you told me who you are, I thought I was mistaken. I thought I heard your words. Tell me, how do I feel? Tell me now, how do I feel?
Yeah, wow, thank you. And that's like, oh, dare I do this?
Yeah.
I mean, it was also I had to pick songs that I thought I could, be able to program that weren't beyond me, and also that I could have a go at singing. So I don't know how I mean, Sweet Dreams, whoa, that's Annie Lennox,
Right.
I don't know about that, but anyway, I had to go.
You talked about the Sirens album. A couple of my favorite cuts on that album is My Beautiful Monster and Dream On. And again, you stayed true to real life, and that's what's kind of struck me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, with the Sirens album, I thought because I'm very lazy, I thought, okay, I'll make a concept record. I wanted it to be sort of like David Bowie's Low, which is like one side that's, kind of concept, and then wanted to have 5 bangers on the other side that would be great to play live. And I sort of had the idea of the siren stories always intrigued me, what happens when you hear the sirens sing. And I thought that'll be easy because I've just got to have one thing that segues into another. Every song doesn't have to have an intro and a middle eight and a solo or an outro. I'm just going to segue these 5, there are 5 pieces of music on one side and then have the bangers on the other side. So it was harder than I thought it was going to be, obviously, because I had to make the sirens sing as well without people dying, so you could listen to the record safely. So yeah, and it was a pretty much me on my own project. Like, it was totally written and totally recorded in this room that I'm sitting in now, which is just the second bedroom in my little house. But I sort of enjoyed the whole process for that one. It was like, okay, there's no pressure. There's no record company. There's no manager. There's no band I have to feed. It's just me. And thoroughly enjoyed it and love that album. It's probably my favorite piece of work of my career so far.
And so is David Real Life? Is there no real band now?
No, there's not. Whoever's standing behind me, downwind preferably, is the band. It was basically me and whoever's I can get to play behind me. So on the cruise, I had Dave Schultz, who was in Berlin for a long time and also plays for Wang Chung now, and I knew him from Berlin. And Chris Olivas, who's was the drummer for Berlin for a long time as well. So I get to sort of have people like that to work with. Sometimes it's like, wow. And working with those 2 guys in the boat, I got over to LA and we're going to have 1 day of rehearsal, to do an hour and a quarter set. And I guess they were worried about me. I mean, they knew me personally, but is he going to be able to sing? Is he going to be able to play? And I'm thinking, God, if they learn the songs, open-hearted is very hard to play. And we got into this rehearsal studio, and Chris had his electric drums, and David done his homework, and we just hit it. It was like they'd been playing the songs for years. So I was like, oh, wow. And they were relieved that I was okay with my parts and that. So we had a great time.
Wow, great. And then I found Everything Explodes, the single, as we've been talking about doing this conversation, I just found it, and I really, really enjoy that song.
I don't want the world to know, but when my eyes are closed, everything explodes.
is that kind of where you are now? Are you just putting out singles as they come to you? Or is there an album in the future? No pressure.
No pressure. No, Everything Exposed was actually on an album called Happy that came out after Lifetime. It was our first independent album.
Yeah,
and I guess
97.
what you're hearing is the remix that I did last year or so.
Okay. Are you one of those writers who has a bunch of songs just kind of sitting waiting for some attention, or do you just do it when you're ready to sit down and do something?
No, I have to force myself. I'm lazy, and I don't sit down with a lot of confidence, you know. But I mean, now there's no pressure. I don't have a record company, or no one's. There's no expectations of me from anybody. I can do what I like, and that's, you know. And then when I actually do what I like, there's a great album like Sirens comes out. It's like, yeah, wow, you know, I can just do what I like, and people will go on that little journey with me. So yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a song that I'm writing that I think it's going to be really good, but I don't know. I'm too scared. I think it's going to be really good, but I'm too scared to sit down and find out.
Finish it. I'm
not prolific, you know. I don't sit there thinking of titles and melodies, and I see people that do that, and I go, an acquaintance of mine is Steve Kilby from the church. That's always been, you know, and he's so prolific. You know, he just doesn't stop. You know, he writes in his sleep. He writes, you know, and I just don't do that. I write when I have to, when there's a deadline for something. Back in the day, when bands did demos in studios and then went and recorded them, I'd book the studio to try to finish the song. And the band would go, hey, we're in the studio Friday, and this is Thursday. How's the song going? I'd be going, yeah, it's fantastic. And I'd be up all night writing a song because I had to.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think you're from a creative standpoint, that's when you're at your best, is when you're under pressure like that?
Yeah, sometimes I've found that I used to experience when I'd sit down to write something and just nothing would be happening and then nothing would be there. It was a case of getting so tired and so sick of myself and just letting go, and the subconscious comes out, and a muse or something, whatever that is, helps, and you kind of sit there and go, I'm exhausted, you know. And that's when sometimes when the best thing happens, but you've got to get to that point. It just isn't much fun, you know.
Yeah. Well, I've kept you quite a bit past what I promised you, but I have really enjoyed this conversation, David. I'm so thrilled.
Thank you very much. Like I say, when you have a conversation about music, it's we're all music fans, you know.
Yeah.
So
I know. I'm so thrilled to meet you and talk to you, because I really appreciate your music and have been listening to it, you know, since you know, 83, and continue to listen. And so to talk to you today has been a great bucket list check mark for me.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
I hope you will finish some of those projects you have, so I can hear some new stuff, and maybe we can have another conversation when you've got that coming out.
Sure. Okay, we'll do that. I promise.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, David. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate your time, brother.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay.
For questions or comments, email Steve at steveryan.songoftheday@gmail.com.